Hi, this is Granny B of Granny B Crochets, and a friend of mine a while back gave me kind of a three-dimensional hot pad of a chicken. She had someone give it her, I don't know where she got it from, years and years ago, and wanted to know if I could come up with a similar pattern. And so I did, and now I want to share it with everybody else. So there's his little face. I used a safety eye, and the original chicken had it in the center of this circle, but I think I'm going to move mine up a little bit on my next chicken because he's just a little bit, a couple rows maybe. Anyhow, so his body is flat, but his head is three-dimensional, and the way we make his body gives you something to kind of make the head stick up a little bit. So here we go. I used 100% cotton yarn. You can do this one of two ways. The original just used two colors of yarn, and one was a light variegated and the other was a dark complementary contrast, and they did all the trim and everything in just these two colors. But I liked a little color on mine, and so I got some red and some yellow scraps to add to it. But if you don't have the scraps and you don't want to buy a lot of extra yarn, he looked just adorable in two colors. Unfortunately, I gave that one to my friend, so I don't have a picture of it, but it still looked cute. But I made this one with the two different colors, and I used a safety eye because I am never going to put anything hot on his head. I used him just to take, plates and small things out of the microwave and use him for a hot pad for that. So I use safety eyes. If you are going to end up putting really hot things on this hot pad, or you think you might put something hot on his head, then just use black yarn. Or if you don't want to buy safety eyes, just use black yarn, and you can use a French knot or something similar to make the eye on his head. Her head, I'm sorry. It's a hen. It's a chicken. It's a girl. Okay. I also used 5.5 millimeter hook, pair of scissors, and yarn needles. Alright, so let's get started. Now, first off, I'm going to tell you right away, we're just kind of making a big circle. So don't skip this, though, if you already know how to make a circle, because there's a slight variation to it that is important to the chicken. So you can use a magic circle if you want, or you can use the two chain method. The two chain method is you make a slip stitch. Actually, it'd be a chain three method because we're using half doubles. And you chain three, and then everything's going to go into this very first chain at the end of that you made. So we're going to put 12 double crochets in the middle. I am not going to count these chains here as a stitch. So double crochet, yarn over, pull through two, and pull through two. Okay. As we're doing this, we'll talk for a minute. So I want to tell you the 100% yarn, cotton yarn, is kind of stiff to work with if you buy this brand, I think is Sugar and Cream. There's a Peaches and Cream that's very similar to it. Those brands are just kind of stiff all on their own. I did make this pattern out of Hobby Lobby's. I love this cotton. It was a much softer yarn, and I find it much more comfortable to work with. But here was the funny thing. The hot pad, the round part, the hot pad itself, came out bigger. I used the same size hook and everything, but I guess because the yarn was so soft, I was able to make looser stitches or something. I'm not sure what happened, but the body of the chicken came out bigger than it did when I used the Sugar and Cream yarn. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let that roll around. 10, 11, and 12. Then we're going to slip stitch into the very first double crochet. Like I said, we're not going to count those first chains as a stitch. Not now, not at any time throughout the hot pad. Pull the tail and tighten the center up really good. And now we're going to chain 2. And on this round, we're going to put 2 double crochets in each stitch all the way around. So yarn over, that's 1, and that's 2 in this stitch, and then 1, 2 in the next stitch. I know you're saying, Christy, this is your basic circle. I know how to do this. That's okay. Bear with me. Like I said, it's got a little bit of difference at the end of the round, which you will see right here on this very second round that we're doing. So you're going to put 2 double crochets in each stitch all the way around. Okay, you keep going. Well, I'll just stick with you. It's all right, because it's just this round. We will pause for the other rounds because they're so long, but this one's not that long. So we'll just work on around. She, little Henny Penny here, turned out to be very easy to make. I love how she looks laying on my counters, and she lays on my stove a lot because I don't use the stove so much. I microwave most of my meals. So she's right there handy for me. But she looks so cute laying there with her little head all perked up looking around. And so that's what I really loved about this 3D type of hot pad, is because it added a little character to my counter that you could see even if you weren't right there at the counter. I can just look over at her and she's looking out into the room. Okay, so 2 double crochets in each stitch. So this is, when you have done 2 double crochets in each stitch around, you will have 24 double crochets. And then this is where we're going to do something different. So I'm on the last one. So that's 23, and that's 24. Okay, now this is where we're going to do something different. See this little stitch right here, where you joined the 12th stitch and the first stitch together on round 1? We're going to put a double crochet into that stitch. Oh, I forgot. You're going to need stitch markers. I'm going to pause now and go get mine, and you can go get yours. We'll be right back. Okay, I'm back with my stitch markers, and you just need 2 for now. You will need 4 altogether, but you just need 2 for right now. So you're going to put 1 stitch marker in the very first stitch of that round. And then you're going to put the other stitch marker in the very last increase stitch that you made, which is right here. Okay, now, as I said, you have this space right here where you joined round 1 together, and we're just going to put 1 double crochet right into that space. Okay, so we've actually added a stitch. So to be round and flat, you would only have 24 stitches. If you know anything about a circle, to keep it round and flat, you increase by the number you started with each round. So since we started with 12, each round would only increase by 12 stitches as you go along, which gives you a flat circle. So by adding a stitch in here, this is actually going to make the circle not so flat. I will tell you it will look very flat when you first finish it. It might still kind of look flat, but when you put the chicken together, I don't know how it works, but it does. When you gather this part up, this is where these extra stitches are going to go inside the head. Somehow, she manages to lay flat anyways. So, we're going to add that 1 stitch right there. Then join with a slip stitch to the first stitch. Alright, so now if you look at it, you've got a stitch marker and a stitch marker and something in between them. For this round, it's 1 stitch in between them. Just so you know, each round between the 2 markers is going to have 1 less stitch than the round you're on. So round 2, we added 1 stitch. On round 3, there will be 2 stitches. On round 4, there will be 3, etc. So, now we're going to chain 2. And between the markers, you're just going to work like you would any other circle. So we're going to do 1 double crochet in the first stitch. And then we're going to move our stitch marker. Right there. Okay. And then we're going to do 2 double crochets in the next stitch. And that is our stitch sequence for round 3. So if you were with me on the pumpkin hot pads, you know this is how round 3 of any circle goes. So it's 1 regular stitch in the first stitch of the round 2, and then an increase stitch in the next one. So on round 3, every other stitch is going to be the increase stitch, which is 2 double crochets in 1 stitch. So you're going to do 1 double crochet in the first stitch and 2 double crochets in the next stitch all the way around the circle. So one more time, that's 1 double crochet and then 2 double crochet in the same stitch. Okay, and then 1 double crochet and 2 double crochet in the next stitch. Okay, we can pause here. I'll finish up till I get to the stitch marker and we'll meet there. Okay, so I am at the point. The next stitch is the one with the stitch marker in it, so I'm going to take my marker out and do an increase stitch in that stitch. That's 2 double crochets in the stitch. Whoop. When they're really close together, it's easy to catch those markers. Okay, after I've done the second one of that increase, I'll put the marker back in it. Okay, now if you look between the beginning and the ending stitch here, you have another stitch available, and you have that little joining stitch like you have in every round. So this time we're going to put a stitch in both of those. So we're going to put 1 stitch in that available stitch that's still left to go, and 1 stitch in the joining stitch. So now we have added 2 extra stitches to this round. And then we're going to slip stitch to join, like so. Now this is curling up a little tiny bit, not enough to be worrisome. I can flatten it back out with my hand, no problem. If it's curling up a lot and just doesn't want to flatten out at all, then just upsize your hook to a 5.5. I did the best with the 5.0 on this. Came out nice and tight, the way I like my pot holders to be. But if this is if it's too tight and it's curling up like almost into a bowl, upsize your hook 1 size so you can get it to lay flat. Like I said, it's actually going to do more of a ruffle thing. If you use the Hobby Lobby yarn, I found that it gave more of a ruffle to it than a bowl. For some reason with the sugar and cream, it kind of appears to lay flat when actually I'm increasing some stitches. But like I said, when you go to put it together, for some reason it all works out. So we're going to trust the process, as they say. All right, so we've done 3 rows. We're on row 4. So again, we're going to chain 2. We're going to do 1 double crochet in the first stitch. Take out your marker and put it in that first stitch. Okay, and then you're going to do 1 more double crochet in the next stitch. And then sorry about the dog. He gets too excited over the neighbors sometimes. All right, so then we're going to do an increase in this stitch. I know. The neighbors are making noise and you don't like it. So our sequence for stitches on this round is going to be a single crochet in the first stitch, a double crochet in the first stitch, a double crochet in the second stitch, and an increase in the third stitch. And we're going to do this all the way around. So we're going to do a single crochet and a single crochet and an increase stitch. If you want more information from me on making a circle, check out my pumpkin hot pads. They all start as a circle, and that gives you better details on ways to make your circle and remember it. So if you're having any trouble, check out that video. It will give you some helping on that. In the meantime, we're going to continue this sequence around till we get to the other marker. So that's double crochet one, double crochet another, that's two, and then increase in the third stitch. Double crochet, double crochet, and increase. All right, and I will meet you back here when we get to that other marker. Okay, I'm back to the stitch with the stitch marker in it, so I'm going to take my stitch marker out, do an increase in that stitch. Now, I'm going to tell you something. You may have already noticed it, that if you do your rounds the way I'm doing them, there's a tiny bit of almost a corner effect where you've done your increases. It doesn't bother me. I don't care. I let it go, because for me, this is the easiest way to remember where to put my stitches and keep things even and going. But if it really bothers you, look at that, my colored dot ends up on my corners. That's just kind of funny. But if this little bit of a corner does bother you, you can just alternate where you put the increase. So you have the sequence. In this case, it's a double crochet in 2 stitches and an increase in 1. You can do the doubles first and then the increase on one row, and then do the increase first and the doubles last on the next row, and that will smooth these tiny bit of corner looking like peaks out of your work if it's really bothering you. It doesn't bother me, that's why I don't do it, but I'm just letting you know. So we've done our increase. We're going to put our needle back in, and now we have 2 stitches and our little spot for our join. So we're going to make one double crochet in each of those, giving us 3 extra double crochet on this round. Okay. And then we're going to join with a slip stitch. Okay, if you're kind of an expert at this and you've got it and want to go on, you're going to do this for 7 rounds. If this is kind of new to you, we can just keep going together, because I'm going to stick it out to the 7th round. But that's how many we're going to do of this color. All right, so we're going to chain 2. I'm going to do a double crochet in the first stitch. Put my stitch marker back on. Okay, so that's 1 double crochet. And I'm going to do 2 more. 1, 2, and this time I'm going to put 3 before I do the increase. So 3 double crochets and then the increase, which is 2 double crochets in the same space. And we're going to do that all the way around. So it's 1 double crochet in the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and an increase, or 2 double crochets in the next stitch. Okay, that's the sequence for this round. I'll meet you back at that marker. I'm back at that last stitch, so I'm gonna finish my increase, put my marker back in, and now there are 3 stitches plus the join. So we're going to do 4 double crochets, 1 in each of those stitches and the join spot. Okay, so doing good. That's 5 rounds. We need 2 more. So remove the marker, chain 2, double crochet in the first stitch, add the marker. All right. The stitch sequence for this is 4 double crochets. So we made 1, that's 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to put an increase in the 5th stitch. I will tell you one thing, if you hadn't already noticed it, the way I do my circles, my increase always goes into another increase stitch. So if you've lost count of where you're supposed to be, that's your biggest clue right there. Your increase would fall back into the increase of the previous row. Another hint is the number of double crochets on their own is 2 less than whatever row you're on. So if you're on round 6 like we are, that means there's 4 individual double crochets before the increase. When we were on row 5, there were 3 individual double crochets before the increase. So it's always 2 less than whatever row you're on, which means in that stitch sequence you end up with the same number of stitches as you do the row you're on. So 1, 2, 3, 4 individuals plus the increase makes 5 and 6, and we're on row 6. 1, 2, 3 plus the increase made 5, and that was row 5. Alright, so we're going to continue this around. So we're going to do 4 double crochets, and then we're going to do an increase stitch. 2, 3, 4, and then we'll do an increase stitch. Alright, so we're going to continue that all the way around, and I will meet you back at the other marker. Okay, here we are back at the last stitch marker, so take that out. Do an increase, 2 double crochets in the same stitch. Put my stitch marker back in. And this time we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 double crochets total, 1 in each of the next 4 stitches and 1 in the join. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and slip stitch to the first stitch. This is the last round of the front, so we're going to chain 2, do a double crochet in the first stitch, and add the stitch marker back on. Okay. This is row 7, so we need 5 individual double crochets. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and an increase. Okay, so we're going to do 5 double crochets, 1 in each of the next 5 stitches, and then an increase in the 6th stitch. And the increase. Okay, we're going to do that stitch sequence all the way around to the last marker, and I'll meet you there. Okay, here I am at the end of my 7th round. Take the stitch marker off, do an increase in this last stitch, and then I'm going to put the stitch marker back on. Now you do, even though this is the last row, you want to leave your stitch markers on because you're going to need those to know which stitches those are later on in the project. That's why you're going to end up needing 4, because you have to leave these 2 on here. All right, so we're going to finish this last one off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches, and the join, making 6 total double crochets in this space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the 1 in the join stitch makes 6. Okay, and we're going to slip stitch into the first stitch, and because this is side 1, or the light colored side, the main side, you cut your yarn at this point. You can pull it through, or you can do the invisible ending there, whatever you want to do. And we're going to weave in our ends. So you're going to weave in this one, and you're going to weave in this one, because I know it's going inside the chicken, and he's going to have this brown on the back, but my ends come out if I don't weave them in, even in something like this. So unless I'm doing amigurumi where it's very, very tight stitches, I weave in my ends, even though it's double-sided. So we're going to pause for a minute and weave in our ends, and then you're going to take your contrast color and you're going to make the exact same circle up to round 7, leaving your stitch markers in, only do not cut off your yarn. You're going to leave it attached at the end of row 7. You will still weave in the center stitch, but you're going to leave your working yarn, this what's attached to the ball, you're not going to cut it, because we're going to do a round 8 of the brown when we attach the brown back and the main color cream together. So this last round is going to be stitched through both stitches, so you leave your brown attached so you can do that. So we're going to pause and go get your dark color yarn and make another 7 rounds. So you have 2 of these pretty little circles ready to go, and then we will meet back here. Okay, so here we are, and I've finished the 7 rounds of my contrast color, the brown, and I've woven in all my ends. So this is the top or body of the chicken. This is the wrong side, and this is the right side. And you can kind of see it's prettier, and this is where you wove in your ends, which should be a reminder. But if you ever have trouble, just, when you weave in your ends, mark the wrong side with a clip or something. Then I'm taking the brown piece, this right side, this is the wrong side, and we're going to put the wrong sides together, matching up our stitch markers, like so. Okay. And now we're going to work round 8, and while we do it, we're going to be stitching the 2 pieces together now. So I'm going to start with a chain 2, and I'm going to do a double crochet into this stitch and a double crochet into this stitch with a marker on the front. Bring it through. Yarn over and pull, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. Okay, I'm going to take this stitch marker and move it up onto that very first stitch of this round. Okay, now we're going to keep going this, and we're going to be working round 8. So for round 8, we need 6 double crochets before we do our increase, and that was 1. So we're going to do 2, and make sure you go through the next stitch on both sides. So that's 2. 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so now we're at our increase stitch, and we're still going to put an increase, but we're going to do it through both levels. So there's one double crochet in that stitch, and now here's a second double crochet in the same stitch. So now we have our increase. If you don't include these increases, then your round 8 is going to roll up really bad. Okay, so we're just going to do this all the way around. That's 6 individual double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then an increase in the 7th, the next stitch like that, and increase. Okay, all right, we're going to do this all the way around, making sure we get both the front and the back in each stitch as we go. Okay, so let's go all the way around, and I will meet you back at the other stitch marker. Okay, I'm back to the other marker. I'm going to put an increase. 1, 2. Okay, at this point I'm going to put the marker from the back in that last stitch I just made. I'm going to take these other 2 off and get them out of the way. Okay, so now we're down to this last little section, and as always we're going to put 1 in each stitch and 1 in the joining stitch for a total of 7 stitches. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 into the join. Okay, now we're going to be doing some stitching, so we're going to slip stitch this together, and then you need to leave a long enough tail to sew this section together. So it's going to be really long, but long enough to do that. Okay, so get your yarn needle. You can use whatever kind of yarn you want. I like this one because it's got a sharp point. It's the biggest tapestry needle I could find, so I can still thread my yarn through it. Now you're going to take your chicken body and you're going to fold it together with the right side out. You're going to match up those stitches with the stitch markers on them, and we're just going to sew this together. And I just use a whip stitch where you go in one side and not the other. Almost lost my tail out of my needle. Once you get a couple stitches down, you can take these markers off because we're done with them. Okay, when you get to the end, you're going to just you make your last final loop through that stitch again, then run your needle through it so it's kind of a knot. Just anchor it down, and then you can I stick it through to the other side and turn this inside out for a moment so I can hide my brown amongst the brown stitches. So go ahead and just run your needle through some stitches. And then I skip one little strand and go back the other way. And I like the pointed needle because it kind of goes through the yarn that way and it makes it even more secure. All right, we can cut that off. All right, so now you turn this back right side out, and this is your chicken neck. And see, lays flat, no problem. And this is your chicken neck. And your head's going to go on that part once we get the head done. Okay, so let's move on to the head. Set this aside. You're going to go back to your main color, the pretty one you're making the chicken out of. I'm using the same size hook, the 5.5. And we're going to make another circle, but this one is going to be a half double crochet circle, so I'm only going to start out with 2 chains. 1 and 2. And you're going to do 8 half double crochets into the first, back into that first chain. So that's yarn over, pull through both loops. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. This widens up a little bit, just make sure it doesn't pull all the way through, and you'll be fine. 4, 5, 6, 7, and before I do the 8th one, I pull mine up really tight. And I do the 8th one on the other side of the knot, like that. I have trouble doing that with the 12 going into the chain, but not so much trouble with the half double crochets because it's only 8. Then I slip stitch to the first stitch and pull it through. Okay. After that, the circle is just like the one for the body, only in half double crochet. So we're going to chain 1, and then you're going to do 2 half double crochets in each stitch around. 1, 2, and then 2 in the next one. We're going to do this all the way around until you have 16 half double crochets. So I'm going to pause and meet you at the other end. Okay, that's 14, 15, and 16, and we're going to slip stitch these together. So round 3, chain 1, and now we're going to do 1 double crochet in the first stitch. Not double, 1 half double crochet in the first stitch, and 2 half double crochets in the next stitch, which is your increase. So it's 1 half double crochet and 1 increase half double crochet, which is 2 half doubles in the same stitch, all the way around. So that's going to be a total of 24 stitches, and I will meet you at the other end. Okay, I'm at the other end. I'm just finishing up. This is my increase, so that's half double crochet number 24. And we'll slip stitch this round together. Okay, and we're going to do one more round because it takes 4 rounds to make the head. So round 4, just like with the other one, it's half double crochet 1, half double crochet 2, and a half double crochet increase in the next stitch. Again, half double crochet in one stitch, half double crochet in the next stitch, and a half double crochet increase, or 2 half doubles in the same stitch in the next stitch. Alright, we're going to do that all the way around, and I will meet you at the end. Okay, I'm at the last stitch, which gets an increase. So that's 1 and 2. Okay, and we're going to slip stitch this together. Now, we're going to be making 2 of these, but you only need a sewing length on one of them. And I usually try to do it on the first one, because sometimes I forget to leave the sewing length, and when that happens, I still have a chance to catch up on round number 2. So, we're only going to be sewing a few stitches together, so again, you don't need a lot, but you do need a little bit for sewing these heads together. Okay, so we're going to take this apart. You're going to make another one of these circles, only you don't have to leave a long thread. You only need a long thread for stitching on one of them, and make sure you weave in all the other ends, and then we'll meet back here. Okay, I have my 2 circles done, and I have this end for stitching. You can put the eye in the center. On this one, I put the eye in the center, but it's hard to tell in 3D. But when he's in 3D, it's more on this bump of his neck than really up on his face. So I've decided that instead, I actually want to put him between rounds. Put the eye between rounds 2 and 3. So in order to do that, on the piece with the tail, count over 8 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then going straight down towards the center, go down to this spot right between rows 2 and 3. And that's where you're going to put your eye. You can sew it on with a French knot, or just make a couple stitches back and forth. I'm going to use a 12mm safety eye, because I just like I like how it's beady and shiny. So that's my preference. And on the other piece, you don't really have a tail anymore. So just kind of where your knot was, you don't really have a tail, but where your knot was, do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Straight down towards the center. Okay. So I'm going to go put my safety eyes on. You can pause and stitch eyes on however you want to if you're going to stitch them, and we will meet back here. I haven't put the eyes on yet because it has occurred to me before I do, I should probably show you how to make a French knot in case that's the way you want to go. So you're going to take a length of the contrasting color or black and thread it on a needle, and this is a good time to get one of these sharp tapestry needles because it'll make things stay a little better. Okay, so decide where you want your knot, where you want your French knot. So you can't really put it in a hole. I'm using a safety eye, which would go in a hole, and you can't put it into a hole. So you want to go through some stitches to do this. Just kind of find you a spot just below the hole. And what I do is I pull some up and I leave a tail. I'm going to just tie these tails together on the back of my work. And if you tie them with a square knot, it will stay, and you can clip these ends kind of short without worrying about it to go out. So you pull up something towards the front. You're going to take your needle and wrap it around your yarn 3 times, making sure it's tight on the needle. And you're going to go back through, but not through the same place you brought up the yarn. Go through a different part, a different strand of yarn, and carefully pull your needle through all of it, leaving. You don't want to bring your knots to the back, which I think I've done. Okay, I did not get through the yarn. You got to make sure you're getting through the yarn, though. Okay, try this again. Short video on how Granny Bee can sometimes mess up. There we go. Untie my knot. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, what I did is I went through an opening, and you want to go through some yarn. Okay, so wrap it around 2 or 3 times. Don't pull it so tight you can't pull your yarn back through, and go through some strands, which is what I'm doing this time. All right. Pull the needle through, like that. Now you have a knot on this side. That's your eyeball. And you have both strands. Oh, I pulled it through. In a perfect world, this would have been as long as it should be. If I had left this length, and I can just pull this out and redo it, then you would just tie this in a square knot in the back and cut them kind of short, and you're good. And that's how you would make a French knot if you want to use that on your chicken. But like I said, so that's how you make one. However, I am going to attach these safety eyes instead. Hold on, I need the backs. Alright, I've got my backs. Now there are people out there that can put safety eyes on by hand. I don't know whether it's the people or the safety eyes, but the ones I have, which I just bought off of Amazon, I cannot do it. So you take the back, and you're going to put it like it's like shaped like a little bowl. Put the bowl upside down over the safety eye. If you can push it on there a little bit, that's helpful. In a perfect world, you can push that right down over the safety eye. I can't. So I have this nifty little thing I also got on Amazon. This end comes in 3 different sizes. And you put it over the safety eye and then push down really hard. And it pushes that back down for you. Ta-da! And there's my safety eye ready to go. So, I'll find my spot where this one was going again. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right in here. Get on there just a little bit, please. This one's really not cooperating with me. There we go. Okay. If you've got kids or worry about these coming through at all, which I don't think this is going to, melt this down a little bit with a lighter, and then get it warm and mushy, and then mush it down, and it will stay in better, and you won't have this sharp end. But we're going to hide it, and my kids are all grown. So the next thing we're going to do, now if you can get your eyes in place, you're going to need your yarn needle again. And we're going to thread the needle. Okay, and when you put these two pieces together, make sure you have the eyeballs back to back. And we're just literally going to stitch it with a whip stitch together for 16 stitches. So that's 1. 2. You want to do this stitch for stitch. 3. 4. 5. Find it easier if I look from the top. See my little V's. 5. 6. Now if you put your eyeballs in the correct place, 7, 8, when you get to the 8th stitch, which is halfway, you should be pretty much above your eyeballs. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Okay, then I'm going to go across and stick it back through the same stitch on the other side. And kind of tighten that up a little bit. Then turn it inside out. And then I just kind of, you make just a knot real quick. So you go under there, and you've got kind of a loop right here, and then just run your needle back through it. Kind of tightens that knot up a little bit, and then you just want to weave that end in between some stitches, again, like because we want to get that tail securely out of the way, and we don't want it coming undone. So we're going to go a few stitches that way. And a few stitches back. Okay. Alrighty. And there's our little chicken head. Take the piece we already made. Put the little chicken head on top. Looking good. I like where his eyes are falling this time. All right. So now he needs some details. Now, the details can be done one of two ways. Again, you can just use the contrasting color for all of them. It looks really cute, so you don't have to buy any extra colors. Then again, if you're like me and have lots of extra colors, or also like me, like pops of color in the things I'm doing, then we're going to get some red and some, I got kind of a golden yellow color, kind of a mustard color for his little head crown or whatever it's called, because I'm not really a chicken person. I think they're cute, but I don't know much about them, so I can't really tell you the names of everything. And of course the gold's going to make his beak. All right, so you're going to start, so you're going to hold the face in front of you, like so. And over here is the beginning. And you're going to count back to the 3rd stitch from the right. So that's 1, 2, and this is the 3rd stitch. You're going to put your hook in through both of those stitches to either side. And that's where you're going to attach your red yarn. Okay. And we're going to attach it with a single crochet. I like to grab both ends and pull it through the first for the chain, and then I drop the shorter end. And you're going to go back into the same stitch, pull up one loop, Kind of tighten your tail a little bit if you have to. And then there, you've made a single crochet in that third stitch over. Okay, now we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to do a single crochet in the next stitch. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. That's 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to do this 8 times, so we'll have a total of 9 single crochets when we get done. So 1, 2, 3. 4. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there's a 7th one. And one more. Let me see, count me where I'm at here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We need one more. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's the 9th single crochet right there. Alright, so cut off enough to weave in. Yarn over and pull it through that last stitch. Okay, so I weave in my red and yellow all at the same time because I do it with the head inside out and it's just easier. So I'm going to set the red aside and I'm going to get the yellow. Okay. Okay, now we're going to skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and we're going to attach the yellow right here. And again, we're attaching with a single crochet, so I'm going to make a chain holding both tails together. Drop the short one. And I'm going to make a single crochet in the same stitch. Pull that tail down a little bit. Then I'm going to make a double crochet in the same stitch. So that was a yarn over before I put it through. Go through 2 and go through 2. Now in the next stitch after that, I'm going to make another double crochet. So we're going to yarn over, go through both layers. And then I'm going to make a single crochet in the same stitch. So no yarn over. And there we go. And that's her beak. And we're going to cut this yarn off with enough room to weave in my ends and fasten it off. And there's the chicken head. Ta-da! Isn't she cute? Alright, we're going to pause for a minute and weave in our ends, and then we'll meet back here. Alright, now we have my ends woven in. And so we're going to take the contrasting color. And we're going to start at the back of the head. And just attach your yarn with a single crochet. I'm going to drop that short tail. So I'm going to single crochet in that stitch. And we're going to single crochet in each stitch all the way around the head. Just like this. Okay. And when you get here, you're just going to do a stitch here, one in the middle, one over there, and keep working your way around till you've gone all the way around the head. And I'll meet you back at the other end. Okay, I'm almost to the back here. Single crochet right here in the middle. And then I'm going to slip stitch it together. And you need a really long tail for sewing because it's got to go all the way around the chicken's head. So I like to make it really long. I just hate having to add new thread. Alright. And we'll yarn over and pull that through. Okay. So I'm going to weave in the short end real quick here. Back. All right, so we've got this end woven in. I'll trim that off. Okay. Right, now you're going to take the bottom half of the chicken. You're going to take his head. You're going to put it over the bump like that. So the front of his head's going to fit right in with that little bump spot right there. And if you want to, you can put a stitch marker or something there to hold it in place, or even just another yarn needle. I've done that before. I'll get a stitch marker. You just want to hold this in place. There we go. Now we're just going to whip stitch it down, or what I like to do is more of a basting stitch to it, where I go in one stitch and come out another. Whatever works for you. And we're just going to get this head down all the way around. And I don't go all the way through to the bottom. I'm just attaching it to this top part right here. Not that anybody sees the bottoms, it's just I like it looking, I feel like it makes it look a little neater. So I'm just doing kind of this, like I said, just kind of a basting stitch. You just want to get it down securely. It does help if you catch the bottom. There we go. Okay. Right in here I will be going into the bottom because I want to catch that brown. So just through this part here, and make sure I get through both layers. Bring it back up through here. And then for a few stitches. So we get that front V of the head attached to the front V of the bottom, like so. Then we're just going to turn it around and finish sewing the head down the rest of the way. And like I said, I like this little basting stitch, but you can use a whip stitch, whatever you're comfortable with. Go right ahead. Okay. If I got ahead of you, just pause the video and finish sewing them up. Okay, I've got all the way to the back and where I started. Attach that. And then I hide my yarn just right in those same stitches because it matches. And like I said, I like to use the sharp needle for this, so you can kind of cut through, stick it through the yarn. It tends to stick better, stay where you want it to stay. You can also, because it matches, if you're more comfortable with it, you can come down into the bottom and run it through these stitches. Okay. Our little hen's starting to look pretty good. Alright, all she needs now is a tail. So we're going to switch back to our light colored yarn to make her tail. This is my second chicken out of this ball of yarn, and just, I don't know if you've ever been aware of this, but with the exception of Hirschner's yarns, the variegated yarn is often a smaller ball than the solid yarn on almost all brands I've ever found. So it's going to run a little tight, but I'm getting 2 chickens out of this, it looks like, without too much trouble, and so that's exciting. All right. So to get the tail in the center, where's my end? There it is, okay. So you're going to go straight back from the head and find the center of the back. And then you're going to count over to the right 9 stitches from that center. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Put your hook right there. Grab your main color yarn, and we're going to attach it with a single crochet. So you're going to pull it through. I'm going to drop the short end. We're going to do a single crochet right there. All right. So from here, we're going to do a chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to skip 1 stitch and do a single crochet in the next stitch. A total of 9 times, so that's 1. When you get done, you will have 10 single crochets and 9 chain 5 loops. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Skip 1 stitch, single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Skip 1 stitch, single crochet. Okay, when you get your 9th one done, we'll meet back here. Okay, here we are, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 single crochets. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 5 chain loops. Okay. So now we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And turn your chicken over. So we're going to single crochet in the middle of that chain 5 space. And then we're going to do that 9 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and single crochet in the center of the space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, single crochet in the center. Okay, and I'll meet you down over here once you've done the 9th set. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 chain 5 loops. But this chain 5 actually represents, the first one actually represents a triple crochet and a chain 2. And this is important to remember when we go back the other way. So what we're going to do now at this end, we're going to do a triple crochet into this very first single crochet we made. So to triple, you wrap it around twice, go into the stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, so you have 4, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through the last 2. Okay. So we're going to chain 4 and turn 3, 4. Alright, so we've chained 4 and we've turned our work again. We are going to single crochet in the chain 5 space of the row below. So not in this space, but in this one right here. And we're going to do this 8 times. So that's 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the next loop, 3. Okay, when you've done 8 of them, we'll meet back here. Okay, so counting the very first chain 4 and single crochet into that chain loop, we have 8 total. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 single crochets into chain 5 loops. Okay, oops, it came undone. Single crochet in that last one back again. All right, there we go. Now the very end of it, you're just going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're going to slip stitch into the 3rd chain. So 1, 2, 3, that's the 3rd chain of this below, and I like to get 2 strands when I slip stitch things together whenever possible. There we go, and through this one as well. All right, and then you can yarn over and cut enough for weaving in your end. And wind this up real quick. And I have a little bit left even, so I got 2 chickens out of 2 balls of sugar and cream yarn, plus a few scraps. So this would have been, I mean, if you didn't want to use the orange and the yellow for the beak, you would have used the brown, which clearly there's plenty left over for that, so it wouldn't have mattered. So you can get 2 full chicken hot pad holders out of 2 balls of sugar and cream yarn. So now what you do is weave in these last 2 ends into your work, and you're done. And I do like her eyeballs better up a little high like that. I think that looks good. And there she goes. She looks adorable just sitting on your counter, looking around, checking out your kitchen. I hope you had some fun making Little Miss Henny Penny with me. And I hope you keep watching. Happy crocheting.